I'll officially call this meeting to order for the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, October 20th. You'll join us for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening. Commissioner Kirshner will lead us with our prayer.
Heavenly Father, please be with us this evening as we make important decisions for the county. Please be with all those present, and a special moment of silence for a colleague, Tia, who's no longer with us. We hope that her and her family have peace and are able to get through this situation. We ask this in your name.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kirshner?
Here.
Okay. And before we continue the first two things, there's just special thanks to Hopewell Township trustees for allowing us to use your township room here for our quarterly night meeting. We've been doing these now for a few years, and it works out nice and gives us a chance to get us around the county and have the meetings in the evening time frame for folks to be able to get here as well as different parts of the county. So thank you for your cooperation with doing this. We appreciate it. We'll do the signing of the journal, and I'll accept a motion to approve the DVD reporting from our previous board session of Tuesday, October 13th, and the index of that meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as outlined.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. So we will just get them on with did we need to have the Board of Works done on a set time? Do you guys have somewhere else you're going?
I do not. Cancel plans for the evening to be here, so.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And it's just us for this evening too.
Okay. We've got it under old business anyway. I guess we've got someone that was going to be right away, but they're not here, so we're going to continue. Any adjustments to the agenda before we start doing the printed agenda? Museum. The old?
Yes.
No. No pun intended. Again.
I think it was.
Nicole?
I think it was intended.
Okay. Museum. We're going to be beginning with old business. Do museum first. You don't forget it.
Question was brought up at the last board session about binding. I talked to a prosecutor, and he said, because the county now owns it, to do a binding we'd be binding ourselves. So there would be no way to bind the county as a deed restriction, I guess I should say, because we'd be transferring the deed to ourselves. He said the code only allows us, because you had asked if we could transfer it to like the Historical Society or the Barnes-Jones Foundation. How we can dispose of property is by auction. So we can't just, with the intent to not run it anymore, we have to sell it at auction. So.
Not that that is an option.
Right, no, yes.
You missed that session. That wasn't what we were.
No, absolutely not.
We were talking about cooperative agreements into the future,
Yes.
do operations of the museum, and we were talking about what other counties had done and just.
Well, yeah, I think it came out that there was concern with one of the entities that, they make improvements or the artifacts that are in there, that the commissioners elect to sell the museum someday or just relinquish it, that there could be potential issues here. So the question came up, can we bind future commissioners in that they know they cannot sell it outright, they would have to bequeath it or whatever to one of the other entities, the Historical Society or the Foundation, and that is, you can't do that. Okay, so that's the context of where we get at.
He said we can pass a resolution with the intent and declare that, but we can't bind the future board. show our intent and show our support by resolution.
That does surprise me that a deed restriction couldn't be put in.
Well, he said the deed would be deeding it back to ourselves, so.
I think that we gotta work on some type of resolution on necessity intent for this board to help the future board. There would need to be a discussion regarding the sale of, any part of the property in the museum. It's not binding, I get that, but, I think that there needs to be some level of assurance to those people that donate to the museum. We can describe the society of those people with this money for their own operation. And our intention is to have that in an ongoing story, out in Korea.
Yeah, and I think as we, continue through the process of working on the new operational management agreement, because we have 1 year, one full calendar year left on the current arrangement with the Historical Society. But as we start developing those documents, as we talked about that Woodstown example, with that, if not in that, other types of, bylaws or policies or something that might be part of documents that is established as well at that time. But as best we can.
I know currently, like with, when the foundation does donate for like the repairs of the windows, they do a contract with us, basically if something would happen, again, I'm not, no sale, no building. But we worded in our contract that if year one, they get 80% of it back, year two, they get 50%.
Kind of a prorated
Yeah,
donation.
that way it kind of protects them.
Well, it's also assigned to any private donors. You know, if you've got a charitable situation in which you're not certain if that's going to continue to exist, you're less likely to write a check for its ongoing operation than you felt relatively certain that it's going to be there.
Good point. I would agree with Mr. Kirschner, Mr. Kirschner. Let's try to get, an amendment or whatever, a resolution so that we could pass and at least express our strong desire that this board and future boards would try to adhere to that policy to keep it, a public entity.
And we have a meeting coming up. This week?
I don't think so.
No, it is?
No, I thought it was in November.
Yeah, okay, it's November, that's right, it's after I get back, not before. We'll have our next meeting, and we're gonna share the feedback they didn't read in the paper. Fran was at our meeting, but he was not, because they wanted that feedback from you guys, so we had otherwise. After we talked about it on the agenda, so. We will take that there, all right, there's nothing else in the room? All right, Board of Elections. I know, Commissioner Zoller, you had asked the Board of Elections to come. Did you want to
Yeah.
read this through, or if anything?
Yeah, we had they asked me if I would set in to the Board of Elections meeting that they had a week ago. And, there were some concerns that they have, regarding the direction that this board was gonna take on resolving some of the ADA and space issues that they have at the board. I know that we have investigated that, some year and a half ago, and Commissioner Stacy, you made some recommendations as alternative space to there. I have some suggestions as to ways to keep them downtown, so we have to deal with that. The other issues that they've had is that I've asked them to come up with a comparative situation with the surrounding similar sized counties as to the level of compensation that the directors have and with the staff, and equally with the board is they feel that they are under what the surrounding communities pay for their board members. So there was numerous issues that I think that we need to address as the board, And the number one is, as I see it, is the space constraint that they have. We had a ADA expert from the state that came down a year and a half ago, and they had some major concerns with where we are. This commission has concerns if we would use one of the options to stay downtown is to what would be the total cost of that, what are the needs, would you encompass the entire space? And there's a lot of questions that were brought up that that we need to have addressed before we can make a decision. And then certainly you've given us an outline of salaries for your hourly people and your directors and how that compares to similar sized counties, but I still have not gotten the request that looking at the directors with what that level of compensation is for the director. So we need to address, all these things need to be addressed. Now with that being said, the floor is yours. Kind of.
Let me get one clarification. Where are we at with this whole process? Do we owe you, some, plan, as it were, as to where you ought to be? Or do you owe us, some presentation that would tell us how much space you need and where you would like to go? Let's break it down from a communication standpoint. Are we waiting for you or are you waiting for us?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Both.
Tell me where we're at, seriously.
I don't have those numbers with me, but last year we did provide you what square footage we would need, what we believe we need. And we looked at alternate spaces, and I can pull those numbers back out, email them back to you. As far as the space consideration, you weren't on the board at the time, so
Okay.
of course you wouldn't have that. Space-wise, as you suggested, if that possibility is open next door, that's a possibility to increase our space. ADA-wise, there would still be issues with the parking lot that would be resolvable, perhaps. And then the curb cut idea we talked about.
Okay, as I mentioned, if we were to look at that of expanding within the existing facility, we need from the state a letter allowing some of the non-ADA accessible issues. And I'll give just for the press, I'll give you an example. On Washington Street, the gentleman who happens to be in a wheelchair, he put a level down. And if the decline or the grade is such, then it's not ADA accessible. What they're worried about is a wheelchair just running free. And as the slope goes towards the river there, so that's something we can't change. We can't begin to change that. We would need a variance from the state, because we wouldn't want to go ahead and make these, if we do elect to allow you to expand within the existing facility, you know, certain things we can change. We can't change the elevation of where it's at.
Correct.
So before we go ahead and start spending taxpayers' money, we need to know if the state is willing to give us a variance on that, or if there's other issues too. You know, you mentioned that the curbside, and I've got a verbal commitment from the mayor and the administrator, the city administrator, that they would be more than willing, in an effort to keep you downtown, that they would do that at their expense, make that curb handicap accessible. So those are the issues that we need confirmation of what the state's gonna allow or not. We don't wanna start spending money and all of a sudden states say,
Not being in compliance.
the elevation is such that it will never be ADA accessible.
I spent the day with him, most of the day, Brent Hargage from the Secretary of State's office that you met, and you were there part of the time too. I was surprised how much he spent actually outside the various places we went. We went to several polling locations, a church, a library, and a huge percentage of his time was spent outside, not inside, with that leveler. And the numbers I remember from the sidewalk in front of the board office is that it's 4% slope toward the street. It's not supposed to be more than 2%. looks like an awfully nice sidewalk to me.
Yeah, but again, we need a variance on that,
Mhm.
and that's paramount. We gotta have that before we really start getting into the other.
He was concerned about the parking lot because the parking lot had been there for just 2 weeks. And you had just redone the parking lot and it sloped down toward a grate for the water to run off. I think 5%. And I guess not that I want to sound like I'm against ADA laws or handicap compliance, because my mother has been in a wheelchair now and my sister's got some health problems too. So I'm more attuned to it than I used to be, but if the parking lot's not sloped and all the water freezes and you have ice all over the parking lot, and that's not good for anybody. So I thought he was rather nitpicky. I thought we would spend more time inside looking at the aisles aren't wide enough to get the wheelchair through, and there's not enough space to get the wheelchair to be able to vote and so forth, and he seemed to be far more concerned with outside. But I agree, we need to make sure that it's compliant before we spend, or you spend, thousands of dollars upgrading a space, and then they say, no, it still doesn't fit.
Well, let's ask some basic questions here, excuse me. First of all, if we were able to use a space that's adjacent to where you're at, that wouldn't feasibly be ready until the first quarter of 17. Is that acceptable?
I think this is where you're asking the question, where before we're just, here's what we want, here's what you offer. We really need to get together and do all the planning as to what that building is really worth to us. You know, if the space is really adequate for us, and in any remodeling that we might need, you know, that can be done to our needs. But I think we're just, here's a paper, we pass it off, and we don't really do anything in getting together and talking about, you know,
Yeah, I
what the
think we need
needs
to,
are.
because I know the paper I had, just defined what your current square footage
Sure.
usage was, not taking in any additional after next year.
Right.
And then the, stuff out at Jobs and Family Services is south of town, obviously had that square footage and what that would be in the levels and those points. But yeah, we are to the point that you're saying we definitely want to do this, or we definitely want to do that.
Right.
So I guess if you've got to define what you need in square footage and layout, then I guess obviously you would have a preference of which facility you're looking. Because the paper indicated that one board member sounded like they were still interested in south of town. I don't know if that's,
If
Yeah,
it
I don't
can
know.
be, you know, if it can be remodeled to the needs that we have, then any place can work out for us, you know, if there's something there. I don't think we'd mind staying downtown at all, or moving out to the other building. It just has to be fixed up, you know, so it meets our requirements.
Yep.
The ADA requirements, the one thing with that is, we have to sign off on those every time that we hold an election to state and federal authorities. And so we're held responsible for that.
Well, let me get back to my original
Yeah,
question,
okay.
and that is first quarter of 17 soon enough?
My problem with that is absentee voting, especially a year from now. I looked this afternoon and we had, as of this afternoon, 612 absentee voters so far this year. I went back and pulled the number from 2012, and at the end of by election day 2012, there were 8,100 something. So we have way more people coming in to the office to vote. We need way more temporary staff to send out all those envelopes.
You're talking about 8,000 people
Who voted absentee in the 2012 election.
They don't necessarily come into the office.
About a third of those do.
A third of those do. Okay, so
and you're talking about those numbers because of the presidential election in
Presidential
in
election.
16.
Yeah,
So
which
you're talking about your
starts-
existing space to get through 16,
Yeah.
because that other space at this point isn't available until
Right.
potentially 17. I mean,
that's why I'm asking you.
yeah.
And where we're at right now, we'll have to make do with what we have, because there's no place for us to move, really, you know.
In the
That's all.
time frame, because keep in mind, the election begins in February for the primary. The presidential primary is February for us. 30 plus days before the March 15th election, we will be taking absentee ballots, and
Well, that's the other question. Would you want to try to go through the move during the presidential election cycle?
not until after the March
Yeah,
election,
not until after the primary.
because we're gonna go through the November election. December 16th is the final deadline for everyone and then we're right into the 45-day notice, and the military voters can start at 45 days out.
I agree with Commissioner Kirschner very much.
Yeah.
If January of 2017 is absolutely not acceptable, then we better forget about moving it. If you're saying that somehow or other you can get through this, because there's no way that that space is gonna be available till prior. You have to decide, if you, again, we need your direction there, because that will throw out that altogether. And that's fundamental there.
And as a workflow process, it's kind of hard for Carl or I to know, because we weren't here for the presidential last time.
You got more experience than we do at it.
I think they will need extra staff just to mail out the ballots, all the opening the ballots that come in. We don't have an envelope opening this year. With 8,000 ballots coming back, that's 16,000 envelopes open, because there's the inner envelope too.
But David, we're talking about
Something is-
space
I
now.
know, but we need extra staff to take care of that, and we need a place for those people to sit. And I don't know where with our current space, we put in 4 or 8 extra workers just to sit there and mail out envelopes and send envelopes back.
Oh, you have to use space.
So I think we need space before January 2017. I think we
If
need.
that's the case, then we might as well forget about
Yeah,
the Hallmark law.
And my other point is, my reading of state law, the Ohio Revised Code, is the board can put its offices wherever we want. You have 30 days to reject the lease, so if we want to rent Buckingham Palace for $100,000 a day, as long as you don't reject that lease within the first 30 days, we can go
Goes
wherever.
exactly
we want.
back to my original question, who else do you want?
My reading of
You
state
guys
law,
decide.
I'm not a lawyer, but my reading of the Ohio Revised Code, and I don't have the section number in front of me, but my reading of the Ohio Revised Code is the Board of Elections determines where its space should be, and you pay for it. And if you don't reject the lease within the first 30 days, then whatever we put is wherever we can go. We can go to the mall, we can go to a barn, we can go wherever we want. You
I'm
have
sure
30
there's-
days to reject the
I'm not an
lease.
attorney, I
Obviously, we
don't
can reject it, then
I would
obviously it has
think-
to be something we will
So we
accept.
have to agree. So obviously, we have to agree. We
Yeah,
can't,
yeah.
There has to be some.
it doesn't do any good for us to pick a space that you're going to reject.
Well, the idea wasn't to cause any confrontational issues. The idea here is to work out a solution that makes sense. If January of 17 is not the date that you folks are willing to wait until, and I understand that, then we might as well end the discussions about moving into the additional space.
absolutely.
Why even have that discussion? So now we gotta look for a space.
Can we get to a point where we could enter that part and see the construction? We're not really aware of what the construction is. We're given the story.
Yeah, but it still doesn't answer Commissioner Kirschner's question. If the
Yeah.
space is adequate or not, if you can't, it's definitely not gonna be vacated until at least December 31st, that's of 2016, that's when the lease expires.
Would she be willing to move early if you made her an offer? I have not discussed this with her.
Probably not.
Probably
But
not.
I don't think that we're in a position to buy a lease out
Mhm.
and then do the remodel.
I'm not suggesting that you should. I was wondering
Well,
if she
I'm
would.
saying even if it were available, I have no idea whether it is. I don't think that that's a good option.
I would say that, we've waited enough time already. If the space is, what we would want to have in the future, I think we can work our way through a couple more months, But we really need to see what it is. We really need to figure out what it is you'll be able to do for us as far as remodeling and stuff like that. And budgeting for, new furniture, all the stuff that goes with that then afterwards.
So
I
we
don't know
could,
what her lease says, but it's usually a 24-hour notice clause.
it's 12 months, I believe.
No. When you wanna go through a property that you
Oh.
own, it's typically. a
Yeah,
clause
give
that
them a
says
notice and do
24
that.
hours you can go in. So I would assume, I don't have a lease in front of me, but I would assume you get in there anytime.
If that is an option that you would consider, then my suggestion is we'll set up a time where you can go in there and evaluate it. We need you to come up with a budget
Sure.
to what is needed to remodel the place, to furnish it. And then we can then compare that and see if that's feasible. And then the next option may be that is to look at out at the, OSB or the Job and Family Services, that facility out there, and look at a cost to remodel that and use, as David said, you guys can go wherever you wanna go, but that way you get the cost of both of those. And,
When we were, asked to, look at the one, Job and Family Services, we were, we're not gonna do any walls out, we're not gonna put stuff up and things like that. So that kind of limited us right off. Some of the rooms aren't really, they might be large, but they're not adequate for what we need to do for equipment and moving it around for elections. So, again, observing the space, getting a feel for what that will be for us, and then knowing what we can do with that. I think that's our progress forward.
and you need to get back with us
Yeah.
on a budget of both of those facilities. We'll get you accessibility to go in there.
Okay.
But if I recall, it's a 12 months, we have to notify them 12 months before their lease expires. And so we've got till December of this year that we gotta do that, so we need to keep moving.
Do you have any other options besides those two facilities, or you look at anything else?
Not that we were made aware of within the county.
I'm asking
Not
you.
county properties.
People have suggested, just in conversations with customers, people have suggested them all. People have suggested the, community civic center downtown, it was the penny store decades ago, it's been vacant for whenever community civic center closed, yeah, about a year ago.
You're looking,
You know,
This I
The
would like,
space right next to me that would need an awful lot of work. But, what used to be American Discount years and years ago, that building has been vacant for years and is in awful condition. But just people have said, there's various spaces around town that are available.
And when we first talked about the DJ Bass, that was before Commissioner Chris was on board. And I know we talked about if we could make that work feasibly as is, there would need to be some
Yeah, something.
modifications to that. And furniture's gonna be a need either place, staying and expanding within the building you're in, or going out there. Because other than a little bit of counter type workstation stuff, there's not much there. We looked at that because of what was ours, because I read the laws where we need to provide new space. And so we wanna do that, what's cost effective for us versus we have empty space, why do I wanna go rent space from somebody else? Kind of a thing, which I'd rather have it be a county affiliated office than to rent retail space. I mean, just because we're not designed to be in the business of being landlords for retail space. I mean, that's, but, so we just have to figure those things out. So I wouldn't say there would be no remodel out there to that facility. At the time, I think, there was a feeling from at least one on the board at the time that, well, we've remodeled the space you're in, why would you need a new remodel? But it's been a long time, and there's been a lot of changes in the Board of Elections world, of all the dates, the early voting, and all of those things now that take place. Question I have, in the building you're in CSB, if the space comes out square footage on that first floor to utilize and make that work, do you anticipate that would mean you would no longer utilize the space in the basement as well? Or would you still need that for the storage of the machines? Is you're looking at bringing all that up to the first floor, or is it that you just need first floor for operations and you still need that storage
We
and
will,
programming area?
we have been told by the Secretary of State's office in 2017 that we should anticipate throwing out all of the equipment we have now, buying all new equipment, which I think is crazy. I'm on record as saying the equipment we have now basically works. It has virtually no resale value if every county in the state's going to have to throw away all of their equipment as well. I don't see the point in the state ordering us to spend ordering you to spend an estimated $750,000 in 2017 for all new equipment to replace equipment that we have now. But they have told us that we should expect that, and since we don't know what size equipment that's going to be, we don't know how much space it will take up.
Deputy Airman and myself have talked about what we would want to do and bringing the equipment up so it was available for us, so that we don't have to do the accessibility for going down into the basement. Again, employees, or other workers that might come down for that. But bring the equipment up if there was sufficient space to do that, so that we can address all of our stuff up in one location, security even wise too. Downstairs, probably archiving would be a use of the rooms that would be there then too for our paperwork and stuff.
Do we know how many square feet we have now, how many square feet this building is?
The addition, the lease is approximately 4,000 square feet, 3 on the first floor and about 1,000 in the basement.
Okay, and what do we have now, do you know?
I'm not
Off the
aware
top of my
of
head,
that.
I don't know. I apologize, I didn't print that stuff.
One of the first questions I had the first week I was on the board in April of last year, I went through the county services, the Job and Family Services building. And one of the questions I had is, can't we store all of our election equipment at fairgrounds or some other property, someplace where you're storing snow cleaning equipment or whatever? And they said, no, it must be in the board offices. We cannot store our election equipment at the fairgrounds. It has to be within our office, and the basement qualifies, but we couldn't put it anywhere else outside of our office.
Like even out there, we had it in offices that were separate from the operational offices, but on that, down the hallway, with easy access out a door, no basement, no steps, no elevator, but it was in a separate location.
Yeah, he showed me what room it was supposed to be in.
If that was,
Yeah, so we can keep this moving forward. You guys need to give us a cost estimate. First, make an evaluation of going into the adjoining space. Will that suffice for everything what you need? Then give us a cost estimate to get that up to your standards. Do the same thing for Job and Family Services. And then at that point, then we can make a decision of, to what we need to do. Because what I'm hearing what you're saying, Director, is that if push comes to shove, you can get through an election year. And you'll muster through it to work with us, because we can't give you that adjacent space in 2016. It's 2017, that option is open.
But I would really like to have that come from the Board of Elections.
Sure.
I would like to have the Board of Elections say, the first quarter of 17 is fine for us.
Right.
And then on top of that, a letter from the state. If we elect to go to the adjoining space there, of the variance that would be ADA accessible with the modifications that they made. So we all know what we're getting into.
Right. Yeah, we would need to get together on those specific things for the ADA stuff. And
With us or with,
both of us, the Board of Elections and the commissioners, to see if the curb cuts are gonna be, if those will be done, if accessibility is made better, not, bringing it up to, you can't, like you say, change the grade of the sidewalk or anything.
well, no,
like
that's
that.
what I'm saying. I don't think that's us, that's you
Correct.
with ADA in Columbus giving this is this facility that we're talking about. Now, this will be acceptable if you do this, this, and this.
But as we've talked in other areas too, extra parking space and stuff on the
We need
parking
to know
lot,
that.
stuff like that.
We need to know that.
Yeah.
My concern there, we'll address it another time, I guess, but, part of that, what you're asking for a waiver from the state, keep in mind ADA is a federal law, and any citizen can file suit saying we're not ADA compliant. And at that point,
But you understand, we don't wanna invest money.
right.
If we turn right around and we invest
Right.
$50,000 and turn around, we're not ADA acceptable.
Right.
I mean, then we just wasted the money. So I think if we have a letter to give us some assurances,
He had a 28-page form for every place we went. He literally pulled out 28 pages for everywhere we went. And frankly, at the end of the day, I question whether any building in the entire country would pass his standards. I just got the impression he could find something everywhere. And these two have to sign a statement that all polling places meet those standards every election, and we know they don't. And this was discussed at the most recent, we do quarterly meetings or semi-annual meetings with other counties, regional meetings. And other counties have the same problem. They say, we just can't find 50 places in our county that meet every single standard.
Just for the public record, Carl and I don't sign that we're compliant. We make a note
Yeah,
that
we-
we're not compliant.
We have to sign off.
Okay, we worked that horse pretty hard.
Yeah. Sure did.
The question regarding salaries and stuff, I would feel more comfortable having an executive session to discuss those things. You are gonna talk specifically about salaries. I really don't want, my suggestion would be not to get into that conversation tonight because, of that reason and because I really believe it was the Board of Elections issue and not our issue. I mean, if they wanna come to us with a budget that's higher than it is, that's their option, but we're not gonna set salaries.
Employees, yeah,
You do set
the directors are set by the code.
Yeah. No, the board members are set by the code.
The board members, I mean, sorry, I'm looking at you
Board
saying, but
members.
yeah, board members.
The directors are tied into a 2002 lawsuit. When the board at that time sued the commissioners at that time, there was a settlement that ties it to the recorder's pay. Is it the exact pay or 80% of it? 80% of the recorder's pay. I think that the board should consider and the commissioners should consider setting aside that settlement of the 2002 because it's got all sorts of restrictions that restrict what we can do and what you can do. All three commissioners have changed, all four board members have changed, the two directors have changed. So I would think that we should consider whether we still want to follow those restrictions from the 2002
I think that is an issue for the Board of Elections. If they want to come up with a proposal to the commissioner, I would be more than happy to review that. But to talk about it without having numbers makes no sense.
Lastly, and I forgot to mention this, was in, you guys discussed, and I thought it was resolved, because of this year, there's 27 pay periods versus 26. Didn't we resolve that with the auditor? And the issue is they're set with a salary level and it's divided into 26 pay periods. Well, this year, there happens to be 27 pay periods that are in there, and Patsy, fill me in,
The employees as of the clerks, because they're considered the employees, and Julia said that, yes, that she feels that the 27 pays for the clerks is adequate. This board has to acknowledge their request for the directors increase, just because of that court order, that judgment entry from 2002, the commissioners have to authorize any increases, and that would be
Just for that 27 pay.
just for that 27 pay. So that is the only thing we need to authorize. The clerks are,
yeah, but the other, how about the other, salary positions within the county, do they get 26 or 27 pays?
27.
27. Then I would recommend that we do the same for the board of directors, is what we're doing for every other salary position within the county.
And we've got that, do we have that request for the directors, the clerks, I understand?
We
Yes.
submit to
Okay,
you.
that we did have.
I hand
Okay,
delivered
yes.
it
So that
For
we-
the-
So we could do that.
for the directors
Yeah.
and
And
So let's unresolve that.
it's, they did ask requests for additional funding, and, the auditor reviewed the numbers, and without knowing what help you will need for the election, right now, it appears that your pay is $4,500 per pay, and for the 27th pay, looking at your budget numbers, and this is Julie and Lori looking at these numbers, so you'll have about $4,700 left over, not including any help. So her recommendation would be, not necessarily altering the budget now, but if you approve it, knowing we're gonna have to make some adjustments at the end of the year.
If you want to hire anybody else, for you, I'll second Fred's motion. I think that was a motion.
Yes, it was.
Motion?
But we do the same as what we've done
Okay,
with,
the
yeah.
motion, what did I-
Yeah, I understand.
All right, All right, so we have a motion and a second to make the appropriate adjustments related to the 27th pay with the Board of Elections for this, the 2015. Any questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
Yes.
Is that comfortable?
That takes care of it. All
You
right,
got some
so then
work,
guys will
you
get
got some
back
work
with
you
us
gotta do.
on some more
A
info.
lot of work to do.
And within that
Both
process
got
on that
election
host
in there.
space thing, you need one of us, ask one of us. But otherwise, we're gonna anticipate you're just gonna bring us some stuff, and then we'll be able to react to that and work with you on some form of a document and
The ball's in your court now.
comparison spaces.
Could we establish a liaison with the commissioners? Somebody in particular, or
Do you wanna do it
what do you
based on doing
prefer?
facility stuff, or would you rather keep it separate from your strategic planning facility stuff?
I would be happy to, unless Greg, you wanna follow up, it wasn't.
Whatever is.
I'm
fine.
fine, since you guys invited me to the meeting, I'm fine
Okay.
to continue with that.
Okay.
We can always
He's
make
yours.
it available.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll always, we're targeting the Stacy.
In the time frame, we need to move this forward,
Right.
because if we are gonna exercise that option of not renewing the lease, we've got 12 months in advance that we have to do it. And that is correct, is it
Correct.
not? And the lease expires December 31st, 2016.
And I think that's sufficient time, between now and your December time
Okay,
to
You got election coming
decide
up.
yes or no.
well, the main thing is you got to get bids and assess it. You let us know, or let Stacy know when you wanna go there to assess it. She can, if the contract says 24 hours, then we gotta have notice to go in and, so you can assess it. Certainly look strongly, and I would suggest to get bids in at the OSB, even though we certainly were on notice. Oh, if you remember, the mayor and city council spoke at our commissioners meeting on their resistance of moving Board of Elections out of town.
They even passed a resolution.
Pardon?
They even passed a
Yeah,
resolution.
so we have to be cognizant of,
I thought there was
City's
an understanding
concerned,
why we
too.
didn't suggest it anymore, but that's okay.
Add one more floor to that building sitting in the table.
No problem with it.
Five-story building.
Yeah.
Write a check,
Four-story
David,
building.
write a check, I'll be happy to do it.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we're going to move to our guests that have come to make a presentation to us. From the Batchelder Company, Chad Polly and Troy Judy, is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Good evening, come on over, you can bring a chair if you wanna sit
Come on
or
down.
stand or
You can
whatever
do
you
that.
wanna do.
Well,
And then we'll continue.
well, thank you, Madam President and Mr. Vice President, Commissioner Kirkman. We appreciate being invited up to address address you guys. We feel, very underdressed, by the way.
we're a very casual group there.
But the guy that invited you to tell you that.
So we appreciate the chance to come and speak with you today. We understand, we're a Batchelder company, and we understand there might be an interest in, putting together a strategic plan, to engage folks in Columbus to support a lot of the hard work that you guys are doing up here. And so first we thought we'd spend some time telling you about who we are, and then we can go get into what, take some questions if you want, but my name's Troy Judy, and I have spent the last 12 years working at the State House. I started off basically mopping floors and worked my way up to the highest ranking staff position in the Ohio House as Chief of Staff, and I spent the last 6 years as Speaker Batchelder's Chief of Staff until he was term limited out. Before that, I worked in the legislature in several support positions. Worked for a lobbying company for a little bit, and have been involved in a number of campaigns. So from the inside and out, it's basically overseeing a state agency, which is the Ohio House. It's about a 250-person state agency, a $22 million biennial budget, and so overseeing everything from personnel for Speaker Batchelder to the actual sausage that's made, our product, which is legislation, to the political side on over the campaign. So we really have a kind of a broad perspective of experiences there. In January, when the Speaker was term limited out, we opened our shop, the Batchelder Company. We are a full-service government affairs, public affairs, and campaign consulting firm located in Columbus, Ohio. And we represent a number of clients before the legislature and the executive branches. And we work with our clients to put together plans based on, what are the, helping them. So much of the planning is just about helping clients figure out what they're after. Working through a process to really define, what their goals are. And so we're happy to say, as new small business owners in the state of Ohio, that our experience throughout the legislature has led to this point of opening our own shop, which has been our dream. And the relationships we've made with so many of the current office holders in the legislature. We've had the privilege of traveling the state with Speaker Batchelder and recruiting most of the people who are elected in the legislature of the 132 members. And by the way, that goes for members on the Democratic side of the aisle as well. One thing that Speaker Batchelder really instilled in us, due to his so many years in the minority in the Ohio House, 22 years in the minority, is the importance of relationships regardless of party. And so we really spent time developing relationships with a lot of the people on both sides of the aisle. We worked really closely with Governor Kasich and his administration to accomplish a whole lot over the last few years, which, some of it stuck with a lot of the budget stuff we did, to some that didn't stick with Senate Bill 5 and other things, but, so that's a little bit about who I am. I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, from Lake County. Chad and I are both Browns fans, and so for that, I'm sorry. It's long suffering.
So you support the new quarterback?
Well, Chad always says
Which
that.
new quarterback?
It's a joke of now you kids, that's why Dad's angry on Sunday. But anyway, we're really happy to be with you here today, and again, we'll get into the what, but turn it over to my business partner, Chad.
Thanks, Troy, and thank you again, Commissioners, for having us up here tonight. It's nice to get out of Columbus every once in a while, get back to the country. I'm originally from Zanesville, Ohio, but actually most of my family is from Medina County, and actually my first impression into public service was my grandfather was a county commissioner from Medina in the late 80s, early 90s, so as a 6 and 7 year old, I was riding around in the parades with them, so I have a lot of respect for the work done here at what you're doing at the local government level. But I graduated from Ohio State, had a similar professional upbringing as Troy. I started as a legislative page for the chairman of the Finance and Appropriations Committee in 2006, and then once I graduated from Ohio State, I started with Speaker Bill Batchelder from Medina County, and was his legislative aide, clerk of the Insurance Committee, and then as he became the minority leader, I was the Minority Caucus Policy Director, and then when he became Speaker of the House for the last 4 years, I was his the Majority Caucus Policy Director, and actually when Troy transitioned to the outside early last year, I took over and was the Chief of Staff for the Speaker in the House for the remainder of 2015. So in my role as a policy director, I oversaw pretty much oversaw and helped implement this strategic legislative agenda for the House Majority Caucus for the last 4 years. So I worked in all areas of policy, from the introduction of bills to getting them all the way through and helping members all around the state work on their bills and prioritize their bills, and then help with the messaging of bills. So between Troy and I, working inside the House for the last 10 years, we have really prided ourselves on working across the aisle with both members of each caucus, and also developing relationships inside and outside of the State House and in Columbus, and policymakers and staff from all the executive branch agencies to the legislative branch to all the 5 statewide offices. So, when we were approached and heard that you all might be looking for increasing your presence in Columbus, we were definitely intrigued and wanted to come up and make sure we could introduce ourselves and talk more through that on some short and long-term plans that you all might have, because especially my experience inside the House working, there's the state, the biennial budget every 2 years that happens the first 6 months of a new term, and a lot of things happen, and there's a lot of new members, and term limits have created sort of a void in education of issues for some members, unless it's already their background. We actually do have a lot of former local government officials that are now state representatives and senators, but it's really educating those that aren't familiar on the issues prior to when they need to make the decision. So, I definitely think we could be helpful in laying some of that groundwork and educating members on what you all have happening up here along the way. So we're anxious and looking forward to talking through that with you, and hopefully you getting to know us a little bit more along the way. So.
Well, and onto the how, I mean, despite our dressed down appearance, so much of this, that we found, I mean, is really, it's simple stuff usually. Legislators are, their days when they're in Columbus, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are their work days, and third committee on Thursdays, but they're seeing a lot of folks, and, I think, when we've been on the other side of the table, so many folks who have come in and seen us make the mistake of trying to provide too much information, when in fact, just coming in and giving a 30,000-foot view overview of general issues that you have on your radar and things that you want the legislature to start being aware of, and this next step is key, is asking them about what they think, because taking input and then taking that back and making that, building that into part of your plan, so that the next time you're doing follow-up with them, it contains elements that are familiar to them because it was, part of their ideas. We've seen as very successful engagement plans, and, some really simple, sayings really come to mind, in addressing the state legislature, and that's, there's strength in numbers, putting together coalitions and building a broad, base of support of other local elected officials and other people who can also chime in and write letters, and it's about kind of going on the record and talk. If there is something specific that you're looking to achieve or get done, basically, we sit down and help folks map out a roadmap to get there. We start with, well, when is this going to be done? How it will be done? All right, well, now we just work backwards from there, and how do we build, some key benchmarks into, it's how many people do we gotta get on board, and how many meetings do we want to do, and who are the key folks in the legislature, House and Senate, that we want to be in front of and talk to. And really, it just starts with really simple introductions. But we're very big baby step people. We think that baby steps lead to big steps. And a lot of people, we believe down in Columbus, always miss that first part, which are the baby steps. They try to take real big steps and end up stubbing their toe.
And it goes a long way on just the simple introductions, just putting up a face with, as compared to just sending a letter every 2 years for a budget request. Just the simple putting a person in front of a policymaker and letting them see and hear what the real issues are, coming back here and then doing the follow-ups to relay them goes such a long way, especially when they're getting crunched for making decisions. And we know that there's so many at the local government level decisions they have to make, and it hasn't been easy the last couple of years, especially. So they are dealing with scarcity of resources and trying to make tough decisions. And the more you can they remember you, a name, a face, and just the consistent getting to know them and laying that groundwork goes so far as compared to just other groups or associations that just don't have any kind of presence at all.
And we've seen this done when we're on that side of the table. Down in southern Ohio, they don't believe in cities; they're all townships, and they're as big as cities, the townships down there. And so they have representation, and we've worked with their government affairs people and their contract government affairs folks. And so we've actually been on that side of the table and seen townships, successfully kind of build support and get some things done in the state legislature. So, absolutely, we've seen, examples of how, that's done successfully.
Question, the needs are great within Seneca County of tapping into the resources of the state, no doubt about it. I guess kind of the internal debate that we have here, what comes first, the plan or the ask?
I guess if I was going to respond to that, it's probably, we think of this in terms of, it's maybe meetings that would then lead to a plan, and then an ask. Because what you probably want to do really, and Chad always really makes this a great point in saying, the plan needs to reflect input. Because if you were to write a plan and it is just way off base from where these legislators' minds are, you're gonna be walking in and just, you're gonna walk out and they're gonna think, these guys are on another planet. I mean, what do they think? And so you really wanna, use and you wanna take that into account as you're crafting a plan, because you wanna have it reflect, input from, some of the folks in Columbus. And so it really helps guide you in honing in that final plan to say, we've heard your concerns about this, this, and this. We've heard that, some of the things that you'd like to see as a state lawmaker are these, and these. We've listened to your current concerns. We've built this into our plan, and here's how we think we're gonna do it. And it really, it goes a long way when you're listening to them and making that part of your plan, as opposed to coming in and just throwing something down, and then there being hard feelings about, well, why aren't you listening to us, and you're not listening to me, and gee. So, really, that's why those intro meetings and some of those early meetings can really avoid all of that, if you just, take some time to go meet some people.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily you have a set plan or set ask from the beginning. They sort of need to be flexible and adaptable based on those conversations. So you have a general idea of what you want the ask to be. You have a general idea of what you want the plan to be, but then you start those conversations and that sort of gels the plan together. It's bringing those that are going to be making the final decisions along, so they feel like they've had some input and they're part of the solution to the plan or the problem. And then as you get to that final sort of ask, then they've been brought along in the process, and that's where the ground game comes into play. And then finally, you make I call it an educated ask based off of what the feedback you've got, what you think they'll approve. So it's adaptable along the way. You got to be flexible based off of there, because they're going to say, you don't know what we're dealing with down here. You're going to say, you don't know what we're dealing with up here. So the more you can gel the two together, it makes it a lot more a chance for success on what your final request is going to be.
What about having some foundation type planning things done, not maybe a specific project plan, that we know we need money for X or whatever it is, but such as our comprehensive long range plan that we know we need to update. And things like that obviously that has to be from the local input, because, I mean, other than our own representatives and senator, in general, they, and all have input of what our lanes and transportation needs are in Seneca County. That, as well as even county strategic plan, which are things we're working on now, which I think are both great things that we've got, in the mix and working towards. Are those things kind of essential before you get moving on? I mean, it's kind of like when you go write for a grant, if your organization doesn't have any strategic plan, you go look back and go, well, we like to fund things, but we like to fund very well thought out visionary groups. And we know they're not going to just throw the money at something that's not going to work, or good money after bad.
Well, I think it's first of all, that you're putting this plan together is great. It does not hurt to let those know that while it's not finalized, what you're working on, because they might be able to give positive input back too along the way, and you want to know what direction the state's headed towards these types of projects too, before you get too far down the road and say, that might not be the vision of the governor or his administration or his advisors, or the speaker or the president of the House or Senate. So, I don't think it's necessary to have it completely done and finalized, because you're gonna get input and advice. Believe me, most of the folks in Columbus, they don't have a problem giving their thoughts or input. So, that's gonna make it, I think, you'll be able to take it back and gel it to what you're hearing, what we're relaying or you're hearing there, and then at the same time, they've been brought along. You finalize your plan, and then you say, here's a very well put together and finalized plan based off of the input we've gathered that you might not necessarily have got beforehand when you were trying to just finalize it from this from here as compared to bringing on this.
Going in and laying out the broad strokes of what you're working on, and not only does it give you a reason to come back in and see it again when it's final, when you got it more gelled and things put together. So, giving them the broad outline, getting input. There's consensus building steps that we believe are really important as you craft this plan, because there may even be people that you ask to confidentially, would you be willing to look at, our plan as it comes along and provide us feedback? And it's all about consensus building getting buy-in, into what you're doing, because really, so much work is going in, you deserve to take the credit for it. And now, and so these consensus building steps on the front end allow you to really, bring somebody else along in what you're doing, so.
And I really, and this is from working on the inside too, I really, think they will appreciate more the effort and what has been done to get to the final part of a project or a plan if they're brought along during the way, because they might just overlook how much time and resources and effort and planning is going into it, but the more you can bring them along, the more I think they will appreciate knowing, how much was done, and it wasn't just, you came to them after all this hard work, and then here's the final thing, and they have no appreciation for what all went into that final product too. So, in the short answer, I think there's, again, it's gotta be flexible, but I think we're both big believers in bringing folks along the way, so they appreciate it, they know what's happening, and they can give their input, to help get you the best final result you can as well.
One of the kind of things that we could expect, from the group, so we have a comprehensive plan, we're looking at a comprehensive plan, we decided we need a couple of roads widened, and that would be the most likely path, try to get there, but how often would you give us a call to say, you need to come down and meet with some of the aides, or meet with some of the staff, because there's an issue that's coming up next week, and probably need to have some input, or how often, how many touches do we need with these folks before we think we can really, make a difference?
Well, sure, and those are the types of things we will work through, even, with you, but right away, we would go back and touch all the necessary members and staff that are, involved in your issues, get on their radars, their contact list, the updates, sort of start laying the groundwork for you all, and then get the additional feedback to you, what we're hearing, and then as we talk through the different projects, the long-term goals that you have, sort of start laying that groundwork, bring you all in, but in terms of communicating, I mean, we work flexible and setting up weekly, whatever, we would work for you.
Right, but I mean, if there are some things that are happening in Columbus that we didn't know about, you would expect all of a sudden, there's a big interest in industrial parks. For whatever reason, there was somebody that was, that came down from the Fed or whatever.
Sure.
You guys would be in touch with that, you'd be.
Yeah, that's a big part of our job, is monitoring what's happening in state government, in the, through all the executive agencies, through the House and Senate. We have trackers that monitor all of those types of things, and it's our job, and I think we do a pretty good job of understanding what the info that is important to you or not important to you. We're not just gonna send you things to say we sent you something, we're gonna send you the things that are the most important, that are necessary, because we don't wanna waste your time either on just random, newsletters or emails. So it would be, right, a case by case basis. The one thing about state government is, sometimes they go really fast and sometimes they go really slow. So you might get a flurry of things happening that you all would care about, and then it might go, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and just nothing happening. And we would tell you that too. Not that we didn't fall asleep and miss some things. It would just be, I envision a weekly, especially while they're in session right now, which they are, at least weekly updates of what's happening. That means committee notices, bills that you would care about being heard in the committee process, agency meetings, anything happening in the executive branch that would affect, or you all would care about. But the most important, I think, you don't want to have a bill sneak up in a committee and vote out and then become law that you were not aware of at all. So that's definitely the most pressing. So it's meeting with those committee chairmen, letting them know we would be working with you all, the staff that we've got to know all this. I mean, staff over the last 10 years, we've hired half of them. So getting on those types of committee lists and letting them know that now we're working, would be working for you, just get that heads up before anything surprises you all.
So typical visit to one of the elected officials would probably, we sent one of the commissioners and the mayor, maybe trying to draw one person down, so they typically meet with that representative, with one of your staff, meet with them, or prep them, or.
Yeah, probably if we were gonna do something like that, we'd lay out, an entire day full of meetings and really utilize, so if people are gonna make the trip down, we want it to be worthwhile. So we'd line up a slew of meetings and work that all out with you way, ahead of time. We'd say, here are here are the meetings we recommend that we work to set up, you know, and then it's up to you to approve to say, yeah, these look great to us, why don't you go ahead, you know, so we work to set up that legislative day, and, you know, basically utilize a whole day. You know, whenever we have, folks down, I mean, we probably recommend that we, you know, not make we make the trip worth your while, but yeah, that's probably a team, you know, that would have some impact. I mean, key economic advisor, you know, a mayor, and, you know, if one of you folks tagged, I mean, I think that's we can talk through that, I mean, depending on the project or whatever it is you wanna make an impact on, having people, who are part of that, you know, that specific project may really make sense.
And you would always have one of us, if not both of us, for these types of days, and there's a lot of questions asked by members and staff with follow-up information needed, that's what we would coordinate, take the notes that say what we need to get to those offices as a follow-up, get the information from you, or get it from our various other resources to make sure we get them any additional information they ask in the meetings, and also get back to you any feedback and comments, from a day like that.
Yeah, because those meetings generate sort of tasks. I mean, they generate questions and information because good meetings lead to furthering the relationship and furthering, you know, them diving into details, and which is great. You know, you want them engaged and caring about what it is you're trying to advance. And so most good meetings really end up with tasks that we want to follow up with information.
And what this really comes down to is that, I mean, anything that happens in Columbus or any policy decisions, you're gonna find out at some point. It's just, do you wanna find out about it when you read about it in the paper, or do you want to know what's happening before everybody else does, essentially, and being able to have an influence on some of those decisions before they're made.
Yeah, I mean, currently, we're members of the County Commissioners Association of Ohio, and they obviously provide their weekly information and
It's a big group.
different things that they do, yeah, it's pretty large group, and, the things, they'll come up and do briefings and that kind of stuff, and then obviously, our direct contacts with our representative and senator, that's what we've utilized. I mean, Fred and I've only been on board here during year 3, so new to us and, all of this stuff too, but, so a lot of those contacts, you get outside of your own senator and representative when you start talking issues specific to committees and, and those kinds of things, so.
Yeah, and by the way, those are all very still key players. Your senator and your representative, they will play a specific role. When it comes down to, when we talk about the ask, you know, the eventual, the ask is the last step of the equation. I mean, truly is the last step. I mean, it's there's a lot of consensus building and input taking and introductions and stuff on the front end, and then the ask is finally when you come to a conclusion that I know what's appropriate to ask for. They understand what our concerns and needs are. So now we're going to formalize this and make an ask. It's the final step, and the senator, you know, your senator and your representative, and really the local coalition you put together. Those are all going to play key roles in making sure that you put as much impact behind that ask as possible.
And your representative and senator would be the ones most of the time to make the official ask. What we would do is help give them the support from other members that are involved and care about this, again, because we laid the groundwork and give them sort of some backup along the way, which helps leadership, the speaker, you know, ultimately make those final decisions. So that's what we think. We appreciate the consideration and the time, and whatever the appropriate way is to follow up. If you have any questions, we can leave our information.
Certainly a big one that is fee structure and things of that nature that probably now's not the time to talk about it, but do you have some sort of brochure or something that we can have
We're happy to talk about it. I mean, it really is, after maybe we sit down and have some more in-depth conversations about the scope of work, what exactly your expectations are. Again, we've worked with you, so we want to make sure from the very beginning we're clear on expectations, and then provide you back sort of that, you know, what that would be.
Commissioner Kirchner?
It's just like Rob, you have to go to consensus.
Yeah.
Well, because you're going to use all our talking points against us.
We need to have some conversation with the private sector, being regional people, and also the two major cities, across the whole. In our jurisdiction, so once you guys come along, we need to fix the situation. See if we can build it on.
We're happy to sit down and
Yeah, you let us know. If you want us to play a role in talking to any of those other players, we're happy to also, start to coalesce, maybe some, an outline or something.
And being the policy guy, I'd love to sit down and just dive into actual, what the more details of what all you are looking for. So it could definitely give you, I think, a little bit more insight and feedback on some of the sensitive direction for this.
Commissioner Kirschner, wouldn't it be appropriate if we could, unfortunately, we are without a, economic development director right now. He's went on to another position. Would it not be appropriate to get someone such as yourself, the mayor of Tiffin and Fostoria, and to sit down with these gentlemen and to have a meeting? It's either that or one of us, and I would certainly recommend you, for that, to get the information and to disseminate that to the mayors. But I think if you had them in the process, I think because let's face it, if we do this, we're gonna ask for support from cities, and would that not be the appropriate way to do it?
We might kill two birds. We might drive to Columbus and, make a couple calls and then sit down with some folks over lunch.
We would love to host you.
But I would recommend that we would try to encompass at least the two mayors.
We'll definitely do a follow-up as long as this board agrees that we should do that, and make certain that we include whoever we consider to be the major players.
And we definitely don't want to waste a day in Columbus Way, so we will make it worthwhile, whatever we work out. If there is a day you want to come.
Depends on what you define as waste.
I guess everybody has different.
Mike, going to Hyde Park and spending an afternoon is not.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate being invited. And,
John, thank you.
Thank you. Very informative. Very informative.
I'm glad you found the place, obviously.
yeah, we only drove past once.
Okay.
So did I. So did I. So don't feel too bad.
Not bad. Well, really appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels. Thanks.
Okay.
We have one item left under old business on the agenda, which was the Joint Justice Center.
Let's
Yesterday,
go ahead and do it.
should we do that? Yeah.
Do the joint justice.
Yeah, let's
Get this moving.
But, I guess just for the sake of the we had a leadership team meeting, yesterday in our office where this artist rendering, a conceptual design was presented from the exterior design committee and adopted by the leadership team, at that point. Yeah, I'm not sure it's gonna be 100% that it would look like that, but, onto a path with some parameters that square footage, number of floors, some things like that, and the fact that we definitely wanted it to fit in the downtown area with the other architecture there and in the book. So that did occur yesterday, and you would have seen that in the paper today. So that was exciting. In terms of other things with the leadership team and the rating team, we had the interviews on Thursday with the architects and engineers, and so we're tracking along with that. And then the CMR interview, request for proposals, which is the next step for the CMRs. We'll do today. They came in, they're all there. So their next step then is their interviews, which are scheduled for first week in November. So that's kind of update of where those things are at with that, and anything else Justice Center wise.
The only thing I did get noticed today, we do have one of the A&Es that have backed out. One of the interviewees we were gonna do Thursday has, Jim? Due to some conflicts in their schedule, they just thought it would be appropriate for themselves.
They indicated what an email that there was parts of their team they couldn't have and didn't feel like they could really present themselves well without that. What was a second firm of what being part of their group, so they didn't feel they were prepared to do it. So we had just two.
So you're down by 3 now and 7.
And if we interview those, and we can always go back into the group to,
Yeah.
if we'd had more time, recommendation from Honda was to, you know, bring that number 4 in, but since it's Thursday, we figured that would be. I just wanted to update you on that. That's all I had on the business.
Anything else old business? New business.
Business, right now, bill vouchers, batches number 7138, 7414 through 7416. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the capital projects fund. This is for the CSB, $201,125. This is for the county's portion of the CSB elevator project. It's going to be partially funded through the CDBG. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriation for the general fund. This is at the request of Common Pleas to put an additional $34,000 into their indigent council line. I have an appropriation adjustment within the general fund, moving $13,689.69 from local account to the uninsured expense, $5,477.50 from economic development to uninsured expense, $4,448.25 from the Court of Appeals to uninsured expense, $1,250 from professional surveying to uninsured expense, $3,208 from contract services to uninsured expense, insurance premiums $8,605.29 from the uninsured premiums to uninsured expense. We did have a plane at the airport. That's what all the moving money for, instead of just doing a supplemental appropriation. Tanya went through the books to find out some areas that we had some funding left over. But we do have a claim at the airport that's going to be over, roughly around the $36,678.73. We've moved, we only had about $10,000 left of budget for uninsured expense. So, which, other than $2,500, we will get reimbursed from the insurance company for this. So we got to get the money in place for it. I have an appropriation adjustment within the general fund, moving $2,000 from insurance premiums to contract services. And an appropriation adjustment within the M&R fund, moving $30,000 from contract projects to their stone line. An appropriation adjustment within the Soil and Water Conservation District, moving $3,000 from equipment to contract services. Resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment within the Seneca County Sewer District Fund, moving $100 from their, looks like the 5304, their equipment line to contract services. Resolution authorizing fund transfer be made to the ditch maintenance fund, $3,960.82 from ditch maintenance. They have two different funds, their 107 and their 017 accounts. I have a resolution authorizing a fund transfer be made to the 2015 County Road 10, County Road 35, County Road 61 paving project, $80,000 from the contract projects to the local share. A resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement contract with the Lucas County Board of Commissioners, the Lucas County coroner to perform certain necessary autopsies and toxicology reports for calendar year 2016. Resolution authorizing hiring Stacy as president of the board to sign a lease agreement with Harry Protect for Konica full color printers, copy and scanner for the commissioner's office. And I do have the notes was put on the agenda as a time slot and not necessarily resolution, but I do have the resolutions. This is for the resolution providing for the issuance and sale of the 910,000 notes in anticipation of the issuance of funds to provide funds to pay costs installing energy conservation measures in and otherwise renovating, remodeling, equipping, and improving county buildings and facilities. This is a note we have done internally with the treasurer's office, and it's about a 5-year. Well, we anticipate we need to have it paid back in 5 years. We have paid off the other one this year. This is all we have remaining on the notes. So
It's the 900,000.
910,000. Yep, and that was for all of the improvements we did on the buildings, which Tanya is getting that information for you, for the updates on the kilowatts and the other things that you were asking
Yep,
for.
yep,
She's got it, she's got it.
This will take us through to 2021.
We have to do it, we'll do it every year,
Okay.
because it's a 1-year note, but
Okay.
there's a time limit on those type of notes internally that we can keep it out for, and it's about 5 years.
Because again, my recollection is the county has 2 outstanding debts right now. One will retire in 2019 and the other one in 2021.
The notes will be the 5 years, the bonds will reduce in 2018, but will not retire until 2000 and.
So what's our debt? I know right now that note is, or that bond is $450,000 annually. And will
About
that
500,000.
will that go away then?
Not in no, it will drastically reduce. It's about 500,000 now. In 2018, it'll go down to about 200,000 until the remaining of that term, which would anticipate our Justice Center project to be just about perfect. We shouldn't have very minimal overlap. Is what we've been.
Yeah, that's what my thought. When we
Yes.
retire the one, the Justice Center will be coming on.
But the one will be fully retired.
Okay.
Oh no, that's the auditor's portion. It was
You
just
guys
a-
only signed the red. I'm pretty sure it was the red ones. Don't sign the blue or the green
Yep,
ones.
that was just an unpacket, so,
Just the top one,
yep, right. Yeah, just the red one.
I'll make you verify those others before I sign in case she wants those tomorrow.
What?
That's the copy release.
Yeah, you only sign the copy release, but everybody signs the resolution.
We just signed the
Mhm.
top.
Mhm.
And that's all the resolutions I have.
Okay, that's just gonna, I know I was gonna say.
Just the red ones.
Just get rid of that one.
Not the-
Nope.
Not that one either.
Don't
Not
put
that
it-
one either.
Don't put it in front of me if you don't want me to sign
Right,
it.
that's right.
I make a motion that we approve the appropriations as we discussed.
Motion and a second to approve the resolutions as stated. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
Yes, all approved. And this will bring us to an opportunity for citizens' comments this time. So does anyone have any comments or questions they'd like to? Mr. Brightmore?
Yes, I have one about,
We don't meet again until next Thursday.
no, what you were talking about earlier about,
Board of Elections,
Board of Elections, lobbying.
Museum?
Museum.
museum, that I brought up a week ago, you know, and you were talking about. I just wanna emphasize, please do something with that. Because that one commissioner, the last commissioner, he was gonna sell the artifacts out of there and the building. And he was getting backing to do it, so do whatever you can on that, please. Do whatever you can. That needs to be held somewhere. Appreciate anything you can do there. The other thing, this is for Fred.
Listen up.
We were gonna wash some building fronts downtown. What happened to that?
Well, there was discussion that we were gonna build a justice center and then possibly tear down the RTA and incorporate that in the East Tower. And right now, all those things have been tabled. There still is minor discussions, you know, that are going on. So to go ahead and, wasn't that it was a lot of money, but what was it? $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and to turn around and 2 years or something like that to tear it down. So we've just kind of tabled that because I think that's part of the grandioso larger plan. If we're gonna tear it down, and we do have some environmental issues there, we do have some, once we get the Justice Center up, we do have some fundamental issues with the RTA that need to be addressed or needs to be tore down. And because of all those issues, we've elected not to spend taxpayers' money on possibly just a short-term existence.
I looked at both of those buildings this past week, and they both they need their facelifted.
As part of the strategic plan and the building committee, we are going to, prioritize, maintenance that needs to happen, some major, some minor, in the buildings both downtown and out south. So, hopefully, we'll be able to give you a specific time frame to do certain things soon.
Thank you.
Certainly by the end of the year.
Anything else? Our next meeting is next Thursday, 29th,
Yeah.
10 a.m.
Do we have to be in Bascom for a
Alley vacation.
alley vacation?
So 9 o'clock.
Okay, that's, I'm wondering, I
At
got
9
Bascom
for a-
hearing and I couldn't understand what it was
Yeah, the
for.
elevator.
Yes.
Expected meeting 10:30, just so you say. Freddie, do you have to get out of here for some reason on Thursday? Next, 29th?
Let me check.
You were asking for an earlier date time.
From what Mark was
No.
saying, the viewing will only take like 5 minutes.
Yeah, no.
10 o'clock shouldn't be any problem?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
Okay.
Alright, so we'll have a viewing at 9, and then we'll go back and do the regular session at 10.
There's a downtown economic development meeting at 8. I will, so I will be there right at 9 probably. I'm pretty sure I can find the Baskin, the alley in Baskin, but I'm not positive.
The elevator
I
silos.
couldn't find the one,
Yeah, look
I
at the
couldn't find the
silos.
one in Fort Seneca, so
There were
It's
no,
right by the silo?
there were no silos.
The elevator silos,
tallest building in town?
yeah,
Okay, I can find that. I think.
near the track, near the railroad tracks,
Oh, near the little restaurant there?
yeah, yes,
Oh, okay. Used to be Snake Street, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Move for adjournment.
Second,
Second.
motion and a second, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
And adjourned, 8:27.